You're on.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another Tarot Chat with Jay. How lovely of you all to join me. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Three of Swords. I have a theory. This card is easily glossed. I think it's very easy to come across this card and say, oh, that one's easy. It's the Heartbreak card. Let's just go on with our lives and our reading. But I think there's a great deal more to it, and it's worth a bit of study. I believe that the true message of the Three of Swords is that it's a sword card, not a cup card. The sword message comes to us from the east, from the air. It is a message from your head. It has to do with communication and thought. If this was a heart card, it would be a cup card. That is the cups from the west. They have to do with water, emotion, feeling. The Three of Cups is a different card. This is actually the Three of Swords, wherein there's a message from your head that you know is true, that you know is going to cause you pain, but needs to be delivered nonetheless. If you walk into the tarot, if you know yourself, if you choose to ask those questions, then you need to be ready for the answers sometimes. However, it is very nice having what's become a symbol, what's become an icon, what's become sigil. This card carries traditional meaning. It carries automatic meaning. It has to do with rain and sadness and depression and loss. We see here in Pixie's original illustration with these different colorways. This one, the mini, has a little bit to do more with straight message. This one dives a little bit more into the feelings of the card, the rain, the depression, how it hits you in the heart. When we move into everyday tarot, we see a slight different configuration with swords. They come to a point. This is a very pointed message. The raindrops come straight down. The graphics are different, and it brings a very direct message, I feel. We move on to a different colorway here in our Aquarian tarot, and it's still, even with the deco message, it carries a very traditional message that we can read straight away and know exactly what that means. Next we come to, because it's such a traditional message that allows us a little bit of an ability to reinvent, to reimagine, and to rethink this card, to re-see it, and draw our own illustrations and our own narrative. This is the Everyday Witching mini, and I think there are a number of images here in this card, but what I actually come down to is there's a journal, a spilled pot of ink, and a tiny quill, which is a feather. Now, aside from the three swords seen here, the feather is also very, very often used as a switch out symbol for a sword. The pen is mightier than the sword. It has to do with writing, once again, communication, wording, journaling, actually getting that message from your head through your hand into your journal, realizing that something's going on, stopping that box of chocolates, opening the window, screaming to the rain, and taking flight. I think there's a lot of narrative going on in this card, and you're able to put yourself into the story. Another illustration of that, here we have Tarot of Mystic Moments. Here we clearly see three arrows, quilled and with actual feathers on the end of them, stabbing into that rose heart, the center of the rose. He's crying three tiny little blood tears we really see, I think, in this image how that message hits home, hits heart, and in the body language, one hand clutches that inner solar plexus, that center. The other hand lets that message fall and expresses that grief, expresses that flowing of the message from the head to the heart and falling like rain and falling like tears. We also see some of that posturing here in Cat Black's Golden Tarot. This card is interesting. We see both the iconography, the traditional iconography here of our stabbed heart with swords, but also this figure is very heavy, very solid, feeling that emotion, sitting on a plinth. The body language, once again, is wrapped up. The hand is toward the heart. And on these tiny little plinths in the corner, there are gargoyles with their mouths open, and they are expressing that pain, expressing that feeling. There's a lot of fire and motion and movement in this card. They're really going through this, which I think is a very interesting point to the card as well. It's a 3. You need to move through this pain, through this motion. It's not the 10, it's not the completion, it's not the 4 or the 6 where we're taking a slight pause and seeing what we've accomplished. It's a 3, it's a waltz, it's this off-ended, you need to feel this, do it, see it, honor it, and move through it to the next bit of the journey. Speaking of the next bit of the journey, I feel that one of the things that tarot can do, and one of the reasons that I do collect more than a traditional Rider-Waite, is that I believe tarot evolves. The cards evolve, the issues evolve, and it evolves beyond ourselves into a larger world. Here I'm looking at the U.S. Tarot, which depicts the major events that happened politically and socially in the past couple of years in our country. I bought it for historical and political reasons, lest we forget. The 3 of Swords here is depicted under the full light of the barren moon. It's Stephen Miller and a representative of ICE and some small children and a fence, and I'm pretty sure there's a cage right off card. It is a stabbing image, it is a piercing image, it is a painful image. It's something that I believe touched my heart during that point of history, and I think is a very poignant way to use this imagery to talk about a bigger social event. Another way that this imagery is often used, here we have This Might Hurt Tarot, is to depict pierced animals. I have a little bit of heart grief with these kind of depictions. I actually like it in the book a little bit better. It's depicted in black and white without the blood coloration. It's just rainwater dripping from this image. So that's a little bit easier for me. But tarot isn't always meant to be easy. So we see in this image, it brings us to a bigger social level. We talk about the stewardship of the planet, the other creatures that are affected. It's not just about us and our heartache and our emotions, and it brings it a little bit bigger into the world around us as well. My last card I'd like to talk about is from the Fairy Tarot by Radleigh Valentine. This image has 3 swords. It is the 3 of Winter. This deck is broken into or depicted as seasonal cards, but they align to the swords, cups, and usual depictions. The Three of Swords show three creatures here: a frost fairy, the St. Nicholas figure, and the brown bear of hibernation. So this card shows us many things. It has three messages on the bottom. It says, the sadness will pass, reach out to others when needed, and reach out to others for comfort and love. You will grow stronger from this situation, and sadness that will heal with time. And that which does not destroy us only makes us stronger. So it has a number of messages here, and a really new way of looking at that card, finding out what it can mean, taking a really different look from a very different perspective. And I really appreciate that about Valentine's work here in this depiction as well. So thank you very much for joining me about this talk. Once again, I feel that there's so much to be seen here. The card is more than the gloss. It is a way of reinventing how we see these images, how we see ourselves, and maybe even how we look a little bit at heartbreak as well. It's been Jay from Witching. Thank you so much for joining me. Feel free to comment, feel free to like, feel free to subscribe. Have a lovely witching day. It's been Jay.